But wait, there's more.
Hello, everybody. We're going live. We're just waiting to go live on all of our channels because it takes a few seconds to get to Instagram and then we will get started. Okay, we are live everywhere. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to another live with the Holistic Harmony Wellness Show channel, which is happening in a few weeks on May 17th in Bedford. It's getting so close.
It's getting so
From
close.
yeah, from 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. And today with us live, we have Taryn Jollimore. So, we'll just do some quick introductions to get started, and then we'll get into the juicy questions that we have. Well, not really juicy, but the questions that we have for Taryn today. So, Laura, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, everybody. I'm Laura Mabe. I own the Jubilant Journal and also co-hosting alongside Tara Joy the Holistic Harmony Show. We're so excited. Thank you guys for joining us today. We are 3 weeks away from go time, and like the excitement is so real on my part. I just can't wait. And yeah, I'm pumped to be here with you guys today and get to know Taryn a little more. Yeah, Tara Joy.
Yeah, thank you, Laura. I am Tara Joy, the other co-host of the Wellness Show, and so excited to be part of this, part of building community and getting people together for this beautiful show. And I do intuitive readings, mediumship readings, and also energy healing sessions. And today we have Taryn Jollimore, who is all
Welcome,
about
Taryn.
purpose, your passion. So why don't you introduce yourself to give us a little taste of who you are and what you do?
Okay, sounds good. As said, my name is Taryn Jollimore, and I'm a life coach, and I deal with lots of different things, but mostly I focus in on life purpose because I feel it really helps with knowing what you do. And so many people seem to be a bit lost when they actually pay attention to that. So I offer some guidance in that direction for basically, my point of view, which tends to be a very keep it simple point of view. Life purpose is one of those big things that we always feel is huge and scary, and it's so big that it can't possibly ever be found by me, and I must have to go to like Australia or Italy to find it, and and that's and that's kind of what the world tells us, right? Like, if you're not Mother Teresa, you're not doing your purpose. So then people tend to feel really bad about it and they feel really lost because it's like, well, I like to do this, but that's not important enough. So they kind of talk themselves out of it. And I like to just bring it back to something very simple. We all have a purpose and it doesn't have to be huge. It can be. Certainly for some people it is, but for many, it's just things that you're doing in the everyday. And so I like to just bring it down to keep it to something that's very easy. Well, not always easy. Just because it's simple doesn't mean it's easy, right? So
Right.
um, I do like to be able to direct people to say, okay, what is it that you're doing right now? What is it that you love? And we kind of find a place that is that makes sense. And purpose tends to be something that people are already doing in their lives every day. And it's just a matter of noticing it more than
Mhm.
finding it.
Yes.
So, thank you very much. I'm so excited to get into this. I'm wondering, can you tell us a little bit about like your what led you to this and how you found your life purpose?
Sure. Well, I figured my life purpose had to be as big as Mother Teresa's, and so I was looking all over the place. I had that I had that sense, of course, for a long time. I actually my background is as a photographer, and I spent many years doing commercial professional photography and really enjoyed it until one of those life happens moments when, everything kind of shifts and changes, and there's a change in relationship, and then you question everything, and then you fall down in a heap on the floor crying and wonder, what is the purpose of life? So then, then you start to look for what is the purpose of life. And it's took me in many, many directions. Started with Oprah and went to a million other directions, as all good things do.
Yeah, that's right. And then from there, like, what led you to this point?
Um, I think it's just been an uncovering, like any good life purpose journey.
Mhm.
Just sort of peeling back the layers, being interested, staying curious to what was in front of me, trying to follow the path of divine guidance to say, what are the clues? Where do you go? And just keep going. So, I mean, I've taken a variety of different courses. I took a course about 4 years ago just in trying to figure out something like this. It was called Made to Do This, and it was a great start.
Mhm.
And so then, because it's a great start, then I took a coaching program, and then I took something else, and I took a nature ecotherapy program, and then, you just sort of keep
Snowballs.
doing this and that and this and that, and then you kind of notice, what are you talking about most of the time? And this was an area where, I tend to just, like, we'd be having a conversation with friends and somebody would say, oh, my job's going terribly. And I'd be like, really? Tell me more, I'm like, I shouldn't be so keen. That seems really, but that's where I was interested. I'm like, really? Hate your job? I can help you. Right. And it would just, whether it was a group of friends or it was, just a variety of places, my ears would perk up and I'd be like, oh, really? Unhappy in your job? Oh, changing relationship and looking for what that means. So it's just, something that I tended to do. And when you start noticing enough, then you're like, okay, I'm talking a lot about life purpose and how that actually helps people clarify and feel better and get some peace.
Right. Um, just in saying that, you can tell you're very much aligned with your purpose because I feel a lot of people would probably run the other way when, others start to talk about what's happening in the world and things are falling apart. I feel a lot of people probably clam up a bit and don't know how to handle those situations. So just
Yeah.
by you saying that you lean into it, I mean, that's very telling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I've been on both sides. I used to be the one that was like, "Oh, I don't know how to help them or I don't know what to say or I'm going to disappoint them if I say the wrong thing." And so I would just shut down. Where now I'm more of that like, "Oh, juicy. Okay. Let's
Right.
just talk about it. How does it feel? What does that make you feel?" That sort of thing. So when you work with people to discover someone's purpose and passion, what does it kind of look like? And obviously we don't have time today to go through the whole process,
Right.
but kind of like give us an idea of whether it's in person or virtual or, you mentioned nature. So I'm like, is part of this out in nature or can it be?
It can be.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. And that's why I did the ecotherapy training, was to
Mm.
kind of look at those options. I don't do a ton of it yet because it's really, you have to find that balance of finding the right place so that you are uninterrupted, but you feel comfortable. And so for me, what I do mostly, I do virtual sessions, but I am open to in person, something in nature. And I am going to be offering group programs, which will be out in nature. So I want to do a
Mm.
lot more things like that because I do love nature and love being outside and love that connection. And for me, it really gets people to be able to ground into something simpler. So again, you can, rather than being like inside these four walls where we usually are, um, people tend to let their guard down a little bit when they're outside. So it can be really helpful for that. But even when I do, if I'm doing sort of several sessions with somebody, I'll often give them homework that's nature related. So, if I'm going to give them a journaling practice or some kind of like an art practice or whatever, it's like, okay, try to connect with some kind of nature. If you can, go outside. But even, I like to have a plant nearby. Like you can
Mm,
have nature without being right out in it. You can still connect to it or be in touch with it in some way. It's helpful. So yes, mostly what I do is virtual sessions. They're about an hour long. And typically it's sometimes people do just one session, but typically people would do like a series of 3 sessions or, depending on how long they need it for. It might be a 3-month package or just whatever people are looking for. But the process is just kind of like discovering what people do on a regular basis, discovering what it is they like to do and what lights them up. And I just seem to have a really good sense. Like I had a group of friends once who would always say, "Oh, there comes Taryn's finger." They'll be like, poke, poke, poke. Tell me more about that. Poke, poke, poke. That's, go a little deeper there. So I can often sense when people are getting close to what is really important to them, where they
right.
just pass it by. Because the part of purpose that's so interesting is that it's so deeply ingrained in us and it's so natural to us and it's so important. It is such a part of our being that we don't know that nobody else has that.
Mm,
So
yeah.
we don't think we're special because we're
Right.
like, it's like, well, that's me. Isn't that, doesn't everybody do that? And
Right.
so that's often, the part is like, poke, poke, poke. No, not everybody does that. That is you. That is unique. That is sort of, how it expresses in the world. So that's a lot of it is just me being able to listen and pay attention to what they're saying and hear the things that they don't know that they're saying and then bring it
Mm,
out and just kind of have that awareness and have that recognition of something. So yeah, for me,
right.
rather than finding purpose, it's more of recognizing your purpose.
Right. Yeah. And
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I was going to say, I always overlook that what's easy is what's natural and often tied to your
Right.
purpose
Yeah.
because we're so conditioned to be like, again, it needs to be this big thing, or you need to study hard, or
Yeah.
you need to master it. Where it's like, no, it's part of you. And therefore, it should be effortless
Yes.
because it's you.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's, we're always looking for struggle.
I know. I
This is
know.
it. Yeah.
I
I was going
know.
to say something very similar. I feel like when people, not everybody, but I feel like a lot of people, when they think about their life purpose, you immediately start to panic a little bit. Like it needs to be this big stressful thing. Like, I don't know what that is. And the way you're describing it and the way you uncover it just seems like such a natural progression into, uncovering the tools that you're already using. And it might not be as intimidating as it seems from the outside.
Well,
I love
exactly.
that approach. Yeah.
And people tend to tie it to a job and
Yeah.
Yes.
not that's not it, right? Like you can have 10 different jobs in your life and still be running your life purpose through each and every one of them. So, to me, the job is the expression, like how it comes through you. And it may be your job and it may not. Your
Right.
purpose can come through in maybe just volunteering, or it can also just come through in how you live your daily life. It can come through for
Mhm.
yourself. It can come through for how you're treating your family, for your pets, so it doesn't have to be even your work
Right.
if that's not available to you at the time. So, ideally, yeah, if the more places it can come through, the better.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean if you're not doing your purpose in your job, it doesn't mean you can't do your purpose. So,
I feel like that's probably another common misconception too. That people probably automatically assume that your life purpose is what you do day to day in work. Like that's your purpose, which is kind
yeah.
of like that's a whole other topic, really, because realistically, if you get caught in that frame of mind, I mean, that could be very heavy if you're not, doing something that you absolutely love.
Well, yeah, absolutely. And you feel like you're doing something wrong almost, right? Like
Right.
I'm not doing my purpose. So this must be the wrong thing to do.
Right.
Where, again, with when the way I look at things, the purpose is more of a verb. It's an action, something that you're doing, not a job, not a noun, not a thing. So if
Mhm.
purpose is, like for mine, for example, I think mine is to encourage people. So I can do that in a whole bunch of different ways. So,
Right.
and I could even do that, I do that now obviously in life coaching, but I could do that through photography. I was encouraging people, because I worked with a lot of small businesses, I was encouraging them to actually be able to do what it is that they do. So, those are totally different things, but it didn't mean I wasn't doing my purpose. So,
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's a great point. So, can you tell us a little bit more about how people discover their life purpose? Like, if you're doing it based on the person in front of you, what's kind of like a bit of your process to uncover that for them?
so it varies person to person. That's one of the things about life coaching, obviously. It's like, because some people just are very resistant to letting things out. Or again, when you think it's such an obvious part, you don't even talk about it. So it can take some time to kind of figure out that that's something that excites people. But
Mhm.
it's really just, asking some questions about what they're doing in their daily lives in different parts of it. And so sort of looking at the, what do you do at home? What do you do with your friends? What do you do, in different places? Because it may show up in one place and not others, or this little nugget may show up in all of them, and I can follow that thread. So it's, yeah, a lot of it is just asking the right questions and following the lead. And then it can be a matter of trying to, then what we'll often go into once you have a sense of what your purpose may be is sort of um, recognizing that it's okay that it's that easy, right? Because
Mhm.
they're like, but shouldn't it be? And then also looking at how to use it even more, right? Like now
Mhm.
that you know that that is important, okay, how do you actually accentuate that in your job? So, some people may have job dissatisfaction, and some people probably should change jobs, but other people may, if they actually lean to their purpose in their job. So if they, maybe they're working in a dental office, it doesn't mean that they can't be encouraging or can't bring joy or whatever it is to the experience. So if they're able to lean into that part that they enjoy, it often makes the mundane things or the things that they didn't think they were enjoying, just gives them a different perspective to say maybe
Mhm.
it actually is better than they thought, right? So
Mhm.
it can kind of make you or help you see that a lot of things in your life are more acceptable or enjoyable or whatever it is than you thought. If you it's so it's a lot of it's a change in perspective.
Would you say too that once you've kind of made that headway and uncovered, their life purpose or directed them to do some things to help them, um, is the shift in their lives a dramatic shift, or is it kind of again vary per person? Dramatic in the sense, not a negative dramatic. I
Mhm.
just mean like, is it always life changing, or is it sometimes like a nice gentle shift? Or
It totally depends on the person, of course. I mean, it's like everything else. Like when you're doing personal work, sometimes it goes great, and other times you're like, okay, that's fantastic. Now I know what my life purpose is. Boom, there's the wall again. Boom, there's the wall. Like
yeah.
it's just how we function. But often, yeah, often it's a big deal where they just have that clarity and then they're able to move forward with it. And
Mhm.
other times it's, that clarity is very helpful, but they're still stuck in some kind of a pattern. So it's good to have the clarity and know that that's not the thing that they're stuck in, but
Right.
there is often something keeping people stuck from actually fully living it. And
Mhm.
so, then it's kind of like, okay, how do you work through this? How do you make some progress so that you are working towards that, but also working through some of the other blocks or things that are challenges in your life right now? So it's not always smooth sailing, but that's all of this
It's
work.
part of the journey.
Mhm.
That's
Yeah, and so many times I've gone through those, like, aha moments, and usually it's like that fear comes up, that
mhm.
imposter syndrome, the perfectionism.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Those are the big 3s that I find, and I always used to believe that it was only me. Like, I was the only one that
right.
felt this imposter syndrome because of XYZ. And then when I started talking to people more, and, you know, especially I not only do like intuitive work, but I'm also a graphic designer, which there's a lot of perfectionism there with the design process and creative process and comparison, right? So I always come back to that like perfectionism, imposter syndrome. And I always have to remind myself, okay, it's not just you, other people have it.
You're not the
And
only
it's
one.
okay. And I honestly thought in my younger years I was going to reach a point where it's like, oh, I'm never going to feel fear or imposter syndrome or
Right.
perfectionism again. But as you also alluded to, the next step you take, it comes back up. It might not be as strong,
Right.
but it's still there.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering if you can give a few tips to some people on, you know, reassurance when we feel those feelings. Please help me.
Oh, exactly. I mean, to me, one thing I do personally is just I find a couple of good podcasts that usually have people who are
Mm,
interviewed who do similar things so that I know um just the possibilities, right? So you
right.
see that sort of like, okay, they're doing it, okay, they came from a similar kind of place, okay, they're not, all of those things that can be helpful. Just sort of the more examples that you have of other people doing the types of things that you're doing, um sharing it, anything, talking through with people about those things, or it's nice to have something written down for the bad times. So I always
Mm,
say when you're having a good day, write yourself a little, wow, on a crappy day, read this, right? And so just
mm,
kind of have that note to yourself, because there is going to be a crappy day. There is going
yes.
to be that wall that you hit, that same pattern. So, um, but I guess it's, it is an unpeeling. It's peeling back the layers. And so you will see that pattern again. And it will, the faster you, I guess when you see it again, you typically recognize it a little bit faster. So even just
Yes.
celebrating, like, oh, okay, I saw that it happened. I felt crappy for the day, but I used to feel crappy for a week, right? And now it's like, okay, I'm getting through it. So it can be just celebrating those things, because and realizing that we all do it.
Right.
Yeah, and I think what you're describing is very much like any practice. It's like you kind of just need to be consistent
Yeah.
and kind of continue to show up for yourself. And I think that's, when those patterns do arise and you start to recognize it, then you start to get a little closer to healing or whatever you might need. Because I feel like sometimes there are people who might think, things like, we'll say, life purpose coaching or Reiki or whatever, it's not a one and done, where I feel
Right.
sometimes people are looking for a quick fix. So learning those tools is just so important, like that mantra that you might go back to that you wrote to yourself or whatever. Because it's like it's all a part of the journey, and it is going to continuously be something that you need to do to show up for yourself. So what you're saying and what you're setting people up for, I think, is just a path of success, which is a great thing.
And also leaning into the life purpose, like saying, okay, so if I enjoy this, like if my
Mhm.
purpose is to bring joy to people, how can I bring joy to either myself or somebody else? Like that
Right.
will make me feel better. And then it kind of kicks you out of that loop that you get in.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you are one of our workshop participants on May 17th during the day. Can you tell us what your plan is? A little sneak peek of what you plan to walk them through and experience during your workshop.
Okay, well, I want to have a kind of a visual representation of what we've been talking about in life purpose today. So I'm not going to give it all away, because then that would,
No.
that would be pointless. But yes, I like to tell stories. I like to talk about things, but I also like to somehow show something. So we've talked about peeling back the layers. It'll probably involve that. Honestly, I don't fully know yet. I have a part of a vision in my mind, but I'm a very last minute kind of person. I be like, it'll all come together right at the end. I know at the last show I was like, coming up to the last week, I'm like, I should have more done than this. I'm like, this is how I roll. Like,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
I'm very much the same. It's like, what mood am I in today?
Yeah.
I have
Yeah.
a general sense of where we're going, and then it just all comes together at the end. So,
Yeah.
yes, I will. Like I said, I like to do something visual. As a photographer, I am a visual person, so I find that helps. I also find it helps just to have more than one way to take in information. So when I have something to say and I have stories, but also something to look at, that can really just help. And it helps keep it in people's minds so they have that idea later of, oh, right, I remember that thing that she did. And,
Right.
it just gives a tangible feeling for your brain to latch on to.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, we're very excited to have you, and we're excited to see what you bring to the show for workshop. Yeah, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for joining us live today. Um, this is normally Tara Joy's line, but
Yeah, go ahead if you want to.
I'll leave it to either of you for any closing thoughts.
Um,
Joy.
just that we look forward to welcoming you all and having Taryn at the show. So again, May 17th at the Lebrun Recreation Center in Bedford from 10 to 5. And there's going to be a big variety of different practitioners, holistic wellness individuals selling a variety of products and services. So it's going to be a great show. And as we just mentioned, there's workshops throughout the day. So you get to experience a little bit of each practitioner that's doing some workshops. So you get a free sort of sample of what they're able to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Good.
Taryn,
I'm looking
anything
forward
you wanna
to
say?
it. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it too, and I'm really happy that you're doing the workshop style thing as well. So I
Absolutely.
just think that's a really fun way to do something a little different, speak to a larger audience, give some good information, and then I'll be at the table the rest of the day, there to talk and see what we do, and I'll have some kind of a prize thing going on because I always do. So
Amazing. Amazing. Any last words from you, Laura?
No, just that I'm again so excited about the show, and we're really happy to have you there, Taryn, and pleased that you're able to join us today for this live. And yeah, if anybody is looking to find out more about the show, you can do that obviously through our Instagram or thejubilantjournal.com/harmony. We've already released a full list of our vendors, so you can check that out on our Instagram page. And yeah, Taryn, how about I normally ask, how would people get a hold of you in the meantime if they're looking to connect with you?
so I have a website called tarynj.com. I'll spell it because my name's a little weird. TARYNJ.com. And I'm also on Instagram. It's Taryn.Jollimore. So you can find me in either of those places, although the email from the website is probably faster than Instagram. I'm not on enough, but trying to get more consistent.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much again. And I guess we'll see you on the 17th.
Sounds great. See you then.
Excellent. Yes, I hope everybody has a fabulous day, and we will see you next Monday for our next live stream. Until
Yay.
then, take care.
Bye.
Bye.